Welcome, everyone. I am Bob Wurzelbacher, the director of the Respect Life Office for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, and this is our video podcast series that we call Being Pro-Life. This is part 2 of a series we're producing on the new ballot initiative in the state of Ohio, coming in November of 2023, to amend the Ohio Constitution to include something called the right to reproductive freedom. And in this series, we're going to discuss what the amendment says, why it's so dangerous for Ohio, and how you can get involved to educate the public and stop this initiative. Today's guest is Dena Espenscheid, Senior Director of Coalitions at the Leadership Institute. Dena, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Bob. I'm very happy to be here today.
Dena, can you start us off by just telling a little bit about yourself and what the Leadership Institute is?
Absolutely. Well, Bob, I'm actually from the Cincinnati area, although I grew up on the south side, also known as Northern Kentucky. Graduated from Newport Central Catholic and Thomas More University. And from Thomas More University, I ended up going out to South Dakota and working for a public policy group that taught abstinence until marriage education, as well as a pregnancy care center. And out in South Dakota, I became a lobbyist on pro-family, pro-life issues. And we passed a 100% abortion ban in South Dakota way back in 2006. And unfortunately, even though we got it signed by the governor, Planned Parenthood came in and with a whole bunch of out-of-state petitioners and collected signatures and put it to the vote of the people. Now, they sent it to a vote of the people. And unfortunately, even though South Dakota is a very pro-life state, we couldn't get it passed at that time. And so I spent the next several years learning how to win elections, working on elections, door knocking, phone calling. And in the end, my last election that I worked on was the 2015-2016 primary. I was on the Donald Trump for President campaign. I was in Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., and I was the one in charge of the 17,000 volunteers deciding where we were going to collect signatures to get him onto the ballots. And then when that ended, I applied for a group called the Leadership Institute because I was like, I could teach this stuff now that I've been doing it. They hired me 7 years ago. And since June of last year, I've trained, as of last night, 1,500 pro-life activists around the country on specifically how to either better communicate their values, do more better pro-life activism, or win pro-life campaigns.
Well, Dena, I am so excited to have you on the show because you obviously know what you're talking about. You didn't start doing this 2 weeks ago.
No, I did not.
We've been doing this for years. Let me just tell our listeners real quick. In the previous episode, I was speaking with Peter Range, Executive Director of Higher Right to Life. He broke down the actual language of this ballot initiative coming to the state of Ohio, why the deliberate vagueness of that language can lead to nullifying things that most people even agree with, right? Like parental consent, abortions for the detection of Down syndrome, essentially any restriction for all 9 months because of the specific word health, which we all know can be defined as emotional health, psychological health, familial health, pretty much any reason at all. So if our listeners want to focus on the language of this initiative, they can listen to the previous episode we just put up there on the website. But today, Dena, I want to speak with you and focus on what can we do right now to stop this initiative. Of course, if it gets on the ballot in November, then we want people to vote no. But even right now, we can keep it from getting on the ballot in the first place. Proponents of this initiative need to collect enough signatures in the next few months to even get it on the ballot. Tell us more about that process. What is this signature process and what's going on right now?
So, by the way, Leadership Institute's a 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit. Yes, I work for them, but I don't speak on behalf of them. So just to be clear, my views on this are absolutely my own. If I were on the other campaign right now, I would be organizing and recruiting as many volunteers as I could. I'd be training them up on how to collect signatures. Then I would be giving them the petitions and turning them loose. But then I would also be hiring paid professional petitioners. Now, I know that they're doing all of that because if you go to mobilize.us, we can actually see a list of everywhere where they're saying, we're going to be here on Saturday from 10 to 1 p.m. collecting signatures, come by and sign. And they're trying to do their best to get out the message of where to go and sign. It is up to us to educate voters as to why they should not sign. And you can do that anywhere you see people. So, for example, today I was picking up my rental car from the airport because I'm going to be giving a presentation here in Ohio tomorrow on this very topic and how to do this. And the rental car guy, we were talking about what type of car I should get. And I was saying how I'd been this will be my 5th training this week. And usually I only do 5 a month. This time I'm doing 5 a week. And he said, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, here's what I'm doing. I am here in Ohio because I don't know if you know it, but right now there's a group trying to put on your ballot a constitutional amendment that would allow a pedophile to take your daughter to get an abortion and then take her back home to you without you ever knowing that she underwent the abortion so that he can continue to rape her. And he said, what? I said, yeah, they're doing it under the guise of reproductive rights. I said, so they're talking about this will just keep abortion legal. I said, but what it really does when you read the words, it strips out parental rights to know that their daughter is being raped. He's like, oh my gosh, I had no clue. I said, yeah, so, you can say you still want abortion. I don't know what your view is on that. I said, but don't sign this if you want parents to know that their minor daughter is being raped and that the rapist is taking her to get an abortion. The pedophile is taking her to get an abortion. He goes, oh, I absolutely won't sign. So just by defining the issue like that, it is shocking how strong the response is because people don't want parents to lose rights. They don't want girls to be taken into Planned Parenthood without their parents' knowledge. And by explaining that this is exactly what it does to as many people as you possibly can, and then asking them, just do not sign the petition, you can slow them down enough that it either will drive up the cost. That's good because the more money they have to pay in order to make it the ballot, it's less they can spend on abortions and it's less that they can spend on the election itself. And then maybe if they don't collect enough signatures and they miss the ballot, we've got another year where we can enjoy the laws as they currently are, or even better, and really get it into people's heads that we don't need abortion legal in Ohio.
So, Dena, that is something we focused on a lot when I was talking with Peter Range, the parental consent piece. Are there top 3, top 4, something like that, issues that most people are going to agree with that you can say, okay, I need to tell people about this. Remember these 3 things, parental consent and other issues that will really engage people.
Yeah, the top 4 things would be, the number 1 is that this allows men to coerce women into abortions of babies that they want. I have personally, after practicing how to say it, stumbled upon this idea of this allows pedophiles to take your daughter to get an abortion, which kind of mixes that coercion piece. And my number 2 favorite, which is this strips parental rights. So that kind of hits on both of those. The third thing that's kind of impactful is to say that this would legalize abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy, including painful dismemberment abortions. Nobody wants to think about late-term abortion. And then when you talk about painful dismemberment abortions, whoa, that sounds like it hurts. Then if you really want to make them uncomfortable, you describe how they just reach in with their tongues. They kind of rip things out and they pull out an arm and then a leg. And the last thing they have to do is crunch the head and pull that out so that it can get through the cervix. People are horrified when you describe that, as they should be. And then the last one is Ohioans have been very careful to put into place medical protections for women who are undergoing abortion because we want to make sure that the doctors that are doing an abortion are qualified and that the abortion clinics are sterile. I don't even like calling them doctors and clinics, but if I'm talking to somebody who generally supports abortion, you speak with them on their terms to bring them in your direction. So I might say, we've worked really hard here in Ohio to make sure that women have got medical protections. Things like the surgical room should be sterile, and our surgical centers where they're doing abortion should be at the same standards as like a surgical center where they're removing toenails.
At least.
They'll have fewer medical regulations and fewer medical informed consent regulations than if you were having your toenail removed. And what is more consequential, having your toenail removed or having an abortion, a baby removed that will never grow back and could potentially cause harm to the mother? Things like suicide ideation, infertility, hemorrhaging. Now, we need to make sure that our women are protected, and this will strip a lot of those protections out of the law. And when you frame it like that, people are going, yeah, I want women to be protected. And they can't fight against you. I mean, nobody's going to go, no, there should be no medical protections for women undergoing abortions.
Right.
So you've already got them on your side. They're agreeing with you. And then you just go, don't sign that petition. Because if you don't sign the petition, they won't make the ballot. And if they don't make the ballot, then we don't have to vote on it. And it works.
I can imagine a response to not believe what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Now, sure, if that's what's happening, I'm not going to sign it, but you're just saying that. That's not what this amendment is about, right?
No, absolutely. You should read it for yourself. It says in there, in the amendment, it doesn't say women, it says individual. Because, everybody knows men can get pregnant now, right? But that also means that these rights that they're extending don't have an age limit because they're
Right.
not saying women, which would be a woman of legal age. So if your 16-year-old daughter, if your 14-year-old daughter gets pregnant at school by her swim coach, and you're used to dropping her off at 7 a.m. for swim practice before school, coach can take the day off, take your daughter in to get an abortion, and bring her home when she gets out of surgery at the end of the school day at 4 o'clock, and you would never know about it unless she fessed up to you. That's how bad this is. It's allowing men to coerce women into abortions of either babies that they want, or it's allowing men to coerce women into abortions to cover up their rape and their sex abuse. This is a terrible thing. It's bad for women.
Right. Absolutely. So in addition to having these good points in our pocket and engaging people in conversation, right, are there other things that we do to kind of specifically when you're in the presence of a group of people trying to get people to sign the initiative?
Absolutely. So anytime that you see somebody trying to collect signatures on the initiative, I want you to do 3 things right away. Number 1, whip out your cell phone and start recording.
Oh,
We need to get as many of these people on camera as possible. There are a bunch of rules and regulations that they have to follow. And the more times that we catch them not being compliant, the more likely it is a judge will listen to us when we say, hey, look, they didn't follow the rules and it's systemic. Look at this example, look at this example, look at this example, look at this example. But we can't get those examples unless we get them on video. So number 1, record video of all the petitioners. Ohio is a one-party state, which means that you can record anywhere in public and you can record any conversation as long as you're a party to that conversation. And to become a party to the conversation, all you have to do is go, excuse me. And the moment they make eye contact with you, you're now a party to that conversation. And then you can record everything that's being said, and you don't have to worry about it being tossed out in court because it's inadmissible for one reason or another. I want you to record not only them, but also their paperwork, because we need to make sure that their paperwork is being filled out correctly. So number 1 is record. Number 2, go up and ask them. So Bob, if you were standing outside of the public library, I might just walk up with my phone and be like, hi, I'm so happy to see you here. Now I am, because it means I get a chance to practice my pro-life activism. And you're like, hi, would you like to sign the petition? I'm like, actually, I wanted to know first, what is your name and where's your place of residence? Where do you live?
My name is Sam Jones and I live in Kentucky. Is that not okay?
That's wonderful. What part of Kentucky?
I live in Erlanger.
Oh my gosh, I went to Thomas More College. That's amazing. I love Erlanger. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I used to go out to the cinemas there all the time back in high school. I love that you live in Erlanger. I think that's phenomenal. Thank you very much. By the way, Sam Jones, are you a volunteer or are you paid to collect these signatures?
I'm a volunteer.
You're a volunteer. Okay. And where can I go to volunteer? Because I'd love to get involved maybe.
I don't have any idea. Somebody handed me a clipboard yesterday and here I am.
Now, this is an important one. Where are you going to go, Bob, to turn in your petitions?
This man right over here to my right handed me this clipboard.
Fantastic. So we just caught them doing something wrong. One of the most definite things that they've just done wrong is that each of the people circulating the petition has to witness the signatures. So if we flip it over, if I take a video and I see that you've got signatures from Fred and Mary and Sarah and Kathy, and I'm expecting that to be signed by Sam Jones. Now, I'm not going to sign because A, I don't want to sign, and B, it would be illegal for me to sign a fake name or a partial name. So I'm not going to sign.
Okay.
But we can look to see for that sheet because it's on the video of Fred, Mary, Sarah, Kathy. And if we flip it over and we find out that Jeremy signed the back saying that he witnessed the pages, but we've got Sam Jones on camera saying that he's the one circulating this particular page, we can get that page tossed out. It sounds like a lot of work, but you take 2 pages here, or maybe the judge might say, well, we don't know which of these pages Sam witnessed and which ones he didn't. So all of Jeremy's for that day go tossed out, which would be phenomenal, right? You get 100 tossed out here and 100 tossed out there. several times over, and suddenly we're chipping away at their numbers.
So if the person holding the clipboard does not personally turn them in, that's not valid.
Yeah. Unless there's one person watching everybody.
Oh.
And I can't think of like a situation where that would even be feasible, because one of the things I did when I worked in politics was supervise the collection of petitions. So I was the person making sure that my petitioners were being compliant. I am asking you guys to do videos so that we can do compliance checks on them. The other reason why to do videos, now I've got Sam Jones from Erlanger, Kentucky. I can look up Sam Jones from Erlanger, Kentucky in a database and find out whether or not he's ever been convicted of, identity theft or fraud or whatever. And then if they are hiring convicted felons, we can put that into a press release and let everybody know, if you sign this thing, you might be giving your identity, your information, your address over to people who are convicted felons. Because I worked in petitioning world, I don't trust any petition circulators. I've known too many of them. This is not a normal 9-to-5 job that normal people who are steady and stable do. There are some very, very good, amazing, committed people who do this type of stuff. And there are some people who are looking for a quick buck and a quick bang so that they can move on to the next thing. If there's somebody who the public needs to be warned about not to sign their clipboard, we're going to probably make sure that they get warned not to sign the clipboard.
Right, because you don't want to be giving all your information to someone who has a questionable criminal record.
I don't know, identity theft.
Right.
So once you've videotaped them, once you've asked for that information, I want you to send those videotapes to your local Right to Life organization. So whether it's Cincinnati Right to Life or Dayton Right to Life, just send it to them. They will know what to do with those videotapes. They're the ones collecting them and scanning through them and looking for these compliance issues. So those are the top 3 things I want you to do. The next ones are all optional. If you want to talk with these people, talk with them. And I'm not saying that you're trying to talk with them to make them pro-life. As a matter of fact, I almost don't want you to talk with them to make them pro-life, because the longer you're talking with them, if you're standing outside of the library and you're having a nice conversation, hey, why do you support this? Reproductive freedom, what exactly does that mean to you? What limits would this allow for abortion? Now, I've heard that this would take away a parent's rights to notification. What do you say about that? And just asking these questions without giving away what you think of these issues, the longer they talk with you trying to convince you to give your signature, the fewer signatures they'll collect. Because in the meantime, people who might want to sign are walking by. And They may not come back out, or they might go in and come out and never see the petitioners again. We want to tie them up for as long as possible. So that's one option. Just have a conversation. And if you can steer the conversation away from this, do you have a family? Do you have friends? What do you do for fun? How do I get a job like this? What did you study in school? What are your passions? What's the best book you read last?
That's an amazing thought. I hadn't even thought of that, right? It's so obvious, though, isn't it? If you start yelling at them or start saying, this is horrible, they'll know to disengage with you, obviously, right away. But if you are friendly and they think they're going to get a signature, how long will it take them to figure out, wait a minute, I just missed 10 other people walking by me?
The beauty of it is the ones that are getting paid by the hour. So they get paid $17, whether they get 1 signature, 0 signature, or 20 signatures.
Right. They might even enjoy talking to you for 20 minutes.
I would love to talk with them for an hour, and they could get $17 just for talking with me. I'm cool with that. One of my favorite things to ask is when they say I'm a volunteer, I go, oh, you're not one of the paid guys? You don't have to volunteer. You can actually get paid. You spend the exact same amount of time and you get paid. Wouldn't that be great? The more people we can get on their payroll, the fewer dollars are going towards abortion advertising.
Right.
If you know yourself well enough to know that you can't do that, or you only have a limited amount of time, 2 things you can do. Number 1, go in and complain to the manager of wherever they're at. If they're outside the library, go complain to the library. If they're on a shopping center, if they're outside of Walgreens or Walmart or Target, trust me when I say those people do not want this on their private property. It comes with all sorts of risks. If they get hit by a car on private property, they could potentially sue the property owner for not having a safe, parking lot, right? It's a liability. Plus, they're doing something that's highly contentious, especially when you put it in terms of, hey, Did you know that the guys that are circulating to allow pedophiles to take my daughter down to get an abortion without me knowing are out in your parking lot? You didn't know that? Oh, good. Then I'm not actually angry with you, but I do think you should do something about it because I was ready to walk out of this place. Glad to hear you're not supporting that. Oh, yeah, he's out there. He's out by the cars. He's walking in between the cars asking for people for stuff.
Is it legal for them to do that without the manager's approval?
No, not on private property. It would be like somebody coming onto your driveway and trying to collect signatures. If you tell them to leave, they have to leave.
Right.
So anything you can do to keep them fewer and fewer safe places for them to collect, it's a good thing. If you really don't have time. So my friend who is in Michigan, I sat down and I built a bunch of slides for my training on this. And she said, well, I was putting my baby into the car at Target and I didn't have time to go in to complain to the manager because I had to go pick up the rest of the kids from school. And the person walked up to me in the parking lot and said, hey, do you want a sign to protect your rights? And she said, which rights are those? I said, oh, your reproductive rights. My friend being super pro-life like she is, she's got 4 kids. At one point, they were all under the age of 4. She takes one look at the lady and starts yelling out her description. She just starts screaming it out into the air. It's 5'4", silver hair, purple coat, blue jeans, hiking boots, wire rim glasses. She yelled out the woman's description. The woman got so freaked out. She went running. And while she's running, she's not collecting signatures. So anything you could do to disrupt their pattern of behavior. My favorite one, after we do the videotape, who are you? Where are you from? What brings you out today? Can I take a video of don't even ask, just take a video of their paperwork. You'd be like, oh, so happy you found you today. Dear Lord Jesus, we just pray you rain your forgiving power down upon this person. Help them understand the horrors that abortion does. Help them understand that abortion hurts women. We know, dear Lord, that Planned Parenthood will not provide post-abortive or abortion healing or pregnancy loss healing or even counseling for people who are experiencing suicidal thoughts after their abortions. And it is so prevalent. It is at least 10 times more prevalent than after giving birth. Dear Lord, these women need to know about the healing ministries. And I just pray, dear Lord, that you would send their spirit upon them, comfort them, and help them find the help that they need. I just want you praying as loudly as possible, as if you were a street preacher. And you can stand right next to the petitioner. Because as I said, what happens when you're in, Washington, D.C. or downtown Cincinnati, and you see a street preacher on the corner? Do you walk right up to them or do you walk all the way around them?
Right. People are going to avoid.
Oh my gosh, people are going to avoid them. And if people are, and again, I'm not asking you to blaspheme. I want you to actually pray.
Yeah.
And sincerely pray for these people because there are people hurting from abortion. But during your prayer, A, you're praying, and B, you're educating, and C, you're encouraging anybody who is uncomfortable with loud public prayer to stay the heck away from the circulator.
Right. And you're in a public space. You're completely welcome to be there.
It's a public space. Everything I'm talking about is federally protected First Amendment rights stuff. It's all ethical. You don't want to call out and you don't want to cause a distraction. Whip out your favorite assault weapon, those rosary beads. And I want you to do a nice, out loud rosary. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, and creator of heaven and earth. On down the line.
Right. You know, I love that there's such different levels, really, depending on your personality. If you're a good conversationalist, just talk to them, because when you're talking to them, they're not talking to anybody else. If you can get a little information out of them, it could be useful. Yep. And then turn that video into your local Right to Life agency. They'll know what to do or how to use that video, or even just praying in a loud voice right next to them. They're probably going to want to move.
From home, if you're like, well, I don't really get to get out so much, or it's cold and rainy and dreary. If you go to that mobilize.us from home, you can look to see exactly where they are collecting the signatures. And then you can just start making calls. So from my home office in Virginia, which is where I was at home, I had opened up the mobilize.us and I happened to see that they were in a strip mall. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I called up the Mexican restaurant in the strip mall, told them what was going on. They were very much concerned. Then I called La Rosa. Person answered the phone and I said, yeah, I need a supervisor. I'm really irate right now. And I need to find out what the heck's going on. And I got a supervisor on the line. And I said, look, somebody has given permission for this group to be at your location. And I said, Did your manager give them permission? Oh, no, we would never do that. And I talked to them about what it did. This legalizes abortion throughout 9 months, and it allows men to coerce women to abortion. It takes away parental rights. I did the whole litany of impact. And he's like, oh, we'll take care of this. There's no way our people approve this. There were 2 churches in the strip mall. I called each of the churches. The pastor, the one called me back. She had never heard of this. They were both very pro-life churches. I suggested to her that maybe her congregation should go out and protest. I called Servati's Bakery. I called everybody but the vape shop. And then the last people I called, they were already closed, was Tobin, which owned the strip mall. And when I got a hold of them, they said, oh, there's somebody, we've been getting calls all morning about this. There's somebody already on the phone about it. They pulled the plug. They called up the campaign and said, you will not be doing this in our space. Turns out Tobin is also very Catholic and pro-life. So I was like, yes.
Wow, excellent. So even from your phone.
Even from my phone, from my house in Virginia, I was able to make an impact on the Ohio elections by just calling up and talking to the managers. I called up a management company in Cleveland. It was a mall. And she said, oh, we will not support that. And I said, oh, good, because I'm organizing protests. She goes, oh, you wouldn't be allowed in the mall either. I said, oh, no. We're going to stand out on the sidewalk where it's public property with the big pictures of the dead babies. She goes, oh, please don't. They're not coming here. They're not coming here. I said, okay, if you tell me they're not coming there, I won't bring my people there.
So we can find out where these events are by just going to, again, www.mobilize.us.
And then you can stand outside and protest, stand next to them and protest, stand next to them and pray. You can call up the business owners and complain. There is one somewhere in Ohio that said that they were going to be at the post office. If they step onto post office property, you could go in and complain because they're not allowed to collect signatures on federal property.
All right, Dena, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up this podcast?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned when I was in South Dakota. So in 2006, we had the statewide campaign. When we started the campaign, many, many good people told us, oh, we're going to pray. That's all it takes. This is an all hands on deck moment for the entire country. You can do everything that I've just talked about. You can educate voters and you can pray for them loudly. You can make a scene. You can do whatever you want as long as it's within the First Amendment. Don't threaten them, by the way. I'm hoping that they don't. But if they do make the ballot, you have to get involved in the election. This means you have to get training on how to go door knocking, how to go phone calling. If you're like, I'd rather fundraise, okay, then let's get you fundraising because this is going to be a $56 million minimum just for the pro-life side. And the pro-death side, the pro-abortion side, probably looking at $70 million to $100 million. That is enough money that your brain cannot comprehend how much that is. Like there are lottery prizes smaller than what this campaign is going to cost.
Right.
This is huge. So I want everybody possible getting involved in this election. Now, my job, what I do professionally is I go around training people how to get involved and how to win their elections. So I will be in Cincinnati again on May 30th. I believe it's going to be at St. Max. On May 3rd, we're going to be in Medina, Ohio. Please join us. You can find all of those dates, all of those locations at leadershipinstitute.org/pro-life. I am going to go in and teach you how to slow down petitioners. And this stuff works. How do I know it works? Somebody asked me that the other night. They said, how do you know this works? Because I'm teaching you all of the things that the union did to me and my people when we were collecting signatures, except that I dropped out anything that's violent. I'm not doing any of the violent stuff because we don't believe in violence. We're pro-life. They didn't pray, but I'm saying let's go ahead and pray for them. I want you to pray loudly, pray often, put them on the defense so that they have to either pay more money or recruit more volunteers, work that much harder, and then maybe they still miss their deadlines. Let's just throw everything we can at them to try to get this happening. And again, the number one thing is record at least the first half of your interaction. Hi, so happy to see you here. What is your name? Where do you live? Are you paid or are you volunteer? And then take a video of the sheet of paper. Save that and then send it over to Cincinnati Right to Life, their email address, and pretty soon they'll have a report mechanism.
Excellent, Dena. So once again, you can find out about your trainings at leadershipinstitute.org/pro-life.
Yes.
And again, if you just want to find out where the petitioners are going to be, you just go to www.mobilize.us and it'll list all those events right there. And again, here in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, at least at Cincinnati Right to Life or at Dayton Right to Life, you can go to their websites and they're very much engaged with where the local trainings are happening as well. Well, Dena, thank you so much for talking with us about this ballot initiatives, how we can keep it off the ballot this November, and for all that you're doing to help us right here in Ohio defeat this dangerous amendment. Thanks for being on the show, Dena.
Thank you, Bob, for having me. Good luck. God bless. Godspeed. We can do this.
And I want to thank all our viewers and listeners for tuning in on this episode of our Being Pro-Life series. Head to the website to view the links talked about in this episode at www.catholicaoc.org/beingprolife. Thank you again for joining us today. I look forward to being with you next time.